Hey everybody, it's Chris. This is video 2 of the day because it's big. And I will tell you, I had already recorded this video about 20 minutes ago and I was about to upload it and I realized it didn't have sound. Is that bad? I guess you could have lip read what I said, but I figured I'd do it with sound. Okay, so this video is about the Kamala Harris interview on CNN, which is her first interview with a media outlet of any sort since she became the nominee. All right, it's about 5 weeks since she became or was de facto the nominee. First big takeaway, this doesn't change much of anything. If you came into this interview liking Harris, you left it liking her. If you came into it not liking her, you probably didn't leave it liking her. If you're a swing voter, an undecided voter, you probably didn't watch it because that's why you're a swing voter or an undecided voter. You don't pay that much attention, so I don't know the answer. But I did watch it. I watched it for you. I took notes in my handy-dandy notebook. This is one of my things that CNN gave me. Worked there for 5 years. I got this notebook. All right, so a big takeaway, doesn't change anything fundamental. But I did have 3 things I liked and 3 things I didn't like. I'm going to go through them in the order of the interview. Let's start with 3 things I liked. Okay, number one thing, sorry, looking through my notes. Number one thing I liked. I liked that she said she would appoint a Republican to her cabinet if she wins. I think that's the kind of thing that undecided voters like. People who aren't Republicans or Democrats, they like bipartisanship, they like the idea of reaching across the aisle. So I think that's good. I also like how she explained it. She said, quote, "I've spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. Good, smart, useful, and a direct contrast to Donald Trump, who has not spent his career inviting a diversity of opinion." So that's thing I like, number one. Thing I like, number two. Dana Bash, CNN anchor who interviewed Harris, asked her about Donald Trump's ridiculous claim that Harris has only recently said that she's black. Totally provably false. Anyway, here's what Harris said, quote, "It's the same old tired playbook. Next question, please." Yes, absolutely. Do not spend time with this. This is dumb. Give it the time it deserves, which is no time. The last thing I really liked, and this may be a little bit more controversial, but I think it was smart that she stood by Joe Biden. So going into it, I wondered whether she might try to distance herself a little bit, but I think retrospectively, she did it right, which is, I don't think you're going to be able, if you're Kamala Harris, to run away from what the Biden administration has done, good and bad. I think that's going to be with you. So why not look loyal and defend the 3.5 years you spent as VP and say, look, I'm proud of what we did. Here's bing, 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 bing. These are the things that we did. I know Republicans will say differently, but these are the things we did. The one thing I found slightly not believable in that Biden answer was when she said she never saw any evidence of decline in him. That seems odd given what we know about the reporting and then obviously what we saw on June 27th in that debate. Okay, what didn't I like? Number one, her answer on fracking didn't make sense to me. So she was trying, I think, to split hairs too finely. She said that in 2019 she opposed fracking, but in 2020 she said she didn't oppose fracking, and that's been her consistent position for the last 4 years. Okay, but even if I accept all that, why did in 2019 she oppose fracking, but in 2020 she did? What changed? She never really talked about it. Then the second thing I didn't like, and this is again about her policy flip-flops. Her campaign clearly knew these questions were coming. So what they did is say, let's have a ready-made answer. And that ready-made answer was this quote, "My values have not changed." That doesn't make a ton of sense to me because she supported Medicare for all in 2020, now she doesn't. She supported the Green New Deal in 2020, now she doesn't. She supported a ban on fracking in 2019, let's call it, now she doesn't. What do her values have to do in terms of explaining why that's the case? Anyway, now 3 things the last thing I didn't like, the third thing I didn't like. She said at one point towards the end when she was talking about why she's running and what needs to happen in America, quote, "We need to turn the page in the last decade." She's been the vice president. Joe Biden's been the president for the last 4 years, which is half the decade. What are we turning the page on? Just kind of a weird line. Okay, so overall what I would say is I think she did perfectly fine. Her interview, she answered questions. She sounded coherent. She sounded knowledgeable. These are things that Donald Trump doesn't always sound like, to be totally candid, in interviews. And he doesn't give a lot of interviews to someone like CNN and Dana Bash who's going to ask hard questions. So in that regard, she passes. All right, that's all I got. Sorry for the late night video. Hopefully you can hear it. As always, 4 things. Subscribe to my channel. Like this video. Comment on this video. Tell 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 friends to follow this channel. All right, everybody. Take care.